Hi everybody, and welcome to today's writing lesson for Monday, June 1st, 2020. We've been working on fantasy fiction reading for the past few weeks, so now we're going to switch gears and we're going to enter our fantasy writing unit. So instead of reading fantasy stories, we will be writing fantasy stories. So if you think back to the beginning of the year, we have already written some fictional stories. And remember, when we were writing those personal narratives, how did the writing process go? What did we start with? What are some qualities of good stories? Think for a moment about what we worked on at the beginning of the school year. So if you thought that narratives have characters, they have setting, they have characters that face problems, they have characters that try and solve those problems, and each character learns a lesson, which you could actually learn a lesson along with them, then you would be correct. And remember, when we started with our personal narratives, we started by generating ideas. Before we could actually write fictional stories, we have to generate some ideas. So today, we're going to look at a strategy of generating ideas. And one way to generate ideas for fantasy stories is to daydream. Many fantasy fiction writers will sit and daydream and wonder, what if, what would happen, can you imagine? And they write down little blurbs that will help them create story ideas as they move forward in their writing. So I have on the paper here two different charts of prompts that you can ask yourself while generating ideas for your fantasy story. And here I have some examples as well. So the first prompt I use would be, what would happen if someone could stop time? I was thinking back to that movie, The House with the Clock in Its Walls, and I remember it having a lot of clocks in it, and I remember them being able to stop and manipulate time. So what if I wanted to write a story about a person who could stop time? That person could do all sorts of things. They could do good things or bad things. They could help people or steal things without anyone ever knowing. I could write a story about a boy who stops time to solve mysteries at school, such as who's been sticking all the used chewing gum all over the school. Another prompt I can ask is, I wonder what would happen if gorillas rise up and take over humankind. Would they put us in cages like we put them? What if they hunt us like we hunt them? That would be another story idea that I could develop into a fantasy fiction story later on. Notice how all the underlined words are prompts from the charts. Here's another idea. Wouldn't it be strange if the next vaccination we received gave us supernatural powers? Would we use them for good or bad? I wish I had the power to be invisible, sneaking into places with no one knowing. That would be cool. If you're stuck and you really can't figure out an idea for fantasy fiction writing, think of your fantasy fiction stories. Think of those Harry Potters. Think about those Chronicles of Narnia, or Series of Unfortunate Events, or Sisters Grimm. Here's an example. If you like Harry Potter stories, you could create or generate an idea. Wouldn't it be strange if a wizard showed up on my front porch and took me away to a magical school because my parents weren't my real parents? They were hiding me from an evil sorcerer who had killed my real parents, and now he's after me. So see how I took an idea, a story that I really truly liked, and I generated an idea for one of my own fantasy fiction stories. Now what you're going to do is you're going to use the prompts from the chart above to try and generate some ideas for your own fantasy story. You should have at least 3 different ideas, so try and use 3 different prompts from the charts. So once again, you're going to use the prompts from the chart above to generate ideas for your fantasy fiction stories that you'll be writing for the next 2 weeks. Really take the time to use your creative thinking on this one. If you're stuck, like I said before, use a story that you know. Or take a walk outside, look at the settings around you. If you're in a park, what fantasy fiction idea could you generate by having a park as a setting? For example, what would happen if the trees started to talk to you and tell you that they were in danger? Maybe walking down a city street. Could you imagine a mouse coming out of the building and asking you to help him because a cat is after him? Or maybe walking down the city street, somebody pops out from a portal from a future time and says to you that the Earth is in danger and they need your help to save the future of the planet. So take a moment and jot some ideas down using the prompts from the chart on the paper that I have provided. When you're done, turn it in. You should have at least 3 ideas generated by the end of the day. You can have more, but no less than 3. I can't wait to see your creative thinking.